Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Dominique, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Let's jump straight into it. What got you
Okay.
into the world of B2B coaching?
Such a good question. It's a little bit of a boring story, but it has some interesting details. I was raised by entrepreneurs and
Cool.
did the very brilliant thing of immediately wanting to have nothing to do with that and wanting to go be a psychologist. And yet there was always just this like business in my blood. So I graduated college having decided absolutely I'm going to go become a psychologist. And then I realized that there was this crazy thing that you need to do called make money in order to eat. So
What is that?
I went up and went into business immediately. And this was during the first dot-com era. So I went
Okay.
through all of the ups and downs of, running into a startup and for my very first day staying there until midnight, only for that project to be, thrown out by the next morning. And so I was pretty convinced I was going to go be some sort of business leader. And I was preparing to go get my MBA when 9/11 hit. And I was in New York at the time. And it felt like it was a moment where I had to search inside myself. And I decided that I wanted to go get a clinical psychology degree, that the world had enough business people, and that I could always go back to business. But psychology was something you really have to have an advanced degree to do. So that's what I did. And I moved myself from New York to San Francisco, where I did my doctoral degree and promptly started an e-commerce business. So all while getting my doctoral degree, I was in fact also an entrepreneur and in business. And finally, when I actually started my private practice, which is in fact a small business within itself, I had sold the e-commerce company, but I just very quickly was meeting only with, not only, but majority with entrepreneurs. So in the Bay Area, which is where I am, that's, the mass, population here either is, wants to be, or works for somebody in tech or biotech. And in fact, that became my story. So at this point, I do still have a small clinical practice, but the vast majority of my work is executive coaching or leadership. I actually prefer the term leadership coaching, but that's just me.
I knew this wasn't going to be boring. So I love that. What would you say is the problem that you're solving today? What problem are you solving?
That's a really complex question. World peace, but that's just in the morning. In the afternoon, I try to do other things. No, I'm just kidding. So I think that there's this big bifurcation in the coaching world. There are people who really do business coaching and people who think they want executive coaching, but they really want business coaching. They really want somebody to help them with making business decisions. And that's really fun to do. And I certainly have a business background, and it's not completely outside of my scope, but it's not what I enjoy doing the most. I think that there are advisors out there who really specialize, who have advanced degrees in just those little niches. I tend to introduce people to those people. I have those people in my networks. You want to talk to a marketing guru? Here, go ahead. For me, one of the things here, pop. One of the things that I like to think about is that I do really like helping people. And people think that they have a work brain and a personal brain. I don't know who these people are who have these two different brains, but I've studied a lot of neuroscience. Most of us just have one. And there's so many ways in which they interact, right? So to me, it's about like the problem I'm solving for is having people be aligned, leading from their values. And then when they're actually showing up leading from like a wholehearted place that is not deeply anxious and from a scarcity place, they end up building teams that are also happy to be there. So to me, I'm helping that individual, but I'm also helping entire companies if it goes well. I won't lie though. Sometimes I am helping executives figure out that they need to leave a company, that their values are actually not aligned. It's all on the table when you're really willing to look at yourself, and that is what we do together. So, close to world peace.
That's walking towards it, at least. Who is so? Who's the target of this? And I'm asking because I feel there might be two stakeholders at play: the person that you're actually helping and the person who makes the decision that this person needs help or needs to go through proper coaching. So how
Hmm.
do you make the difference between the two? Who is it specifically that you help and who makes the decision? Maybe sometimes it will be the same, but I'm gonna pause now and listen to you answer to this.
Good question. Two different situations. Sometimes the board, if there is a board, will contact me. That's a little bit more complicated. I like to say that those relationships are a little bit more like when a parent gets a therapist for their teenager. That can be a little more complicated. And honestly, you have to be a lot more careful and create safety in the relationship and really incredibly clear standards of confidentiality. Something that, because I am trained as a clinical psychologist, I have the utmost respect for and really understand all the different ways that that can get messy. Um, and then sometimes it is, maybe they've done an employee survey or they're getting feedback. So the company has said that they should get better at something. Um, and then sometimes it's just them, an individual who says, look, it's either I'm not very productive or I'm not very happy, or I can tell I'm not getting the most out of the people that are coming to the office with me every day, virtually or otherwise. So it's really almost three different types of clients, right? There's an executive or a board has hired me, and it's almost a bit of forced coaching. There's I'm getting context from my environment that says there are things that I need to work on, and then there's I'm getting context from inside myself.
I like it. How do you how do you market to those specific people? How do you brand yourself? How do you make sure that not only those people become problem aware, right, which is where everything starts, and then
Hmm.
become solution aware with what you propose and what you can help them with? Like how do you get the attention of those people?
Are you asking me how I literally market, or how, when I'm on the first call with them, I get them to buy into the concept?
Oh, we're gonna get there. But first, how do you market to those people?
You're not going to like this answer.
Uh-huh. Shoot.
I don't market
Try
it.
me.
I don't really
Okay.
market. I'm really word of mouth.
Okay.
And there's passive marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's engaging in the world and with your network in ways that are going to karmically come back to you. Being helpful, right,
Yeah.
with the right people. There's certainly sort of passive ways like that. But in terms of direct marketing, I have a website. I've maybe posted on LinkedIn 5 times in my career. I mean, I'm really, truly very, very low marketing. That's why I said that you weren't going to love the answer. You're muted. I can't hear you. Yeah,
The choices of the direct, as we were saying before the recording.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
no, I like it because for me, I mean, we work and interact with a lot of B2B coaches and consultants. And
Hmm.
you start with referrals. Like you have to start with this. If you're not getting referrals from
Mhm.
your work, it means the work is not valuable enough that people will talk about it. And as a B2B coach or
Mhm.
consultant, this is like you're literally, all there is your work and how you help people go from A to Z and how you're helping them achieve that. If they don't obtain results thanks to your coaching or thanks to your consulting that is worth talking about, I would first look at fixing that and then putting in place an acquisition channel and a marketing channel that will get the brand out there. So the fact that you're getting
Mhm.
referrals and people introduced to you, for me, says something very good about you, which is the coaching is good. Now,
Hopefully.
you've never tried anything? You've never tried to market or like, I don't know, to send an email or calls? I mean, you said you posted 5 times on LinkedIn. Why the 5 times, not six?
I
Why
don't
not
even,
three?
I don't even know if that's true. I literally, I couldn't,
Okay.
I mean, it's so few.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
honestly, I've just been very busy. Um, I'm very busy. So I
Okay.
haven't, there have been a
All right.
few moments, oh, maybe I'll do, there's a world out there where maybe my post could help people, even if it's not, and it's indirect marketing or direct marketing.
Yeah.
And then, for whatever reason, the world answers me, and in comes some request. So
Here we
it's
go.
just weird like that.
Just manifest
Yeah.
it when it comes.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
so.
It's all positive
I mean,
thinking.
no, but it's good, and that's honestly, it's a lot in the attitude as well. So if that works, then it means it's the right thing to do. I will just say this for the audience. And I'm not saying that this is your case specifically, Dominic. I just see this as a pattern because we have quite some people who are like, hey, why should I do anything? Why should I publish content? Why should I, you know, start an email newsletter or whatever the
Yep.
marketing endeavor is? And the answer is often twofold. One that is, I'm sure, something that everybody's heard already is that, okay, what happens the day when you're not getting referrals anymore? Where,
Right.
like, eventually things tap out and like you've literally expanded into the network of all the people who could give you and refer your business. That's one, but that's usually not a big pain enough for people to be like, oh no, I need to start content. The other thing, which is much more close to the money, in my opinion, in B2B coaching and consulting, is if you really have more demand than you can handle, then you're mispriced and you should charge much more,
It's
which
exactly
means
right.
you would be making more money out of the same service. So for less work, you will be making more money. And it's not about a race to money. You also want to help people genuinely. But that's what
Hmm.
having an acquisition channel that works and performs built on top of your referral system, because it means you're doing good work, means you can charge more and expand and help more people. Because at the end of the day, whether the mission is to help people or to make money, if you have more demand than you can handle, you increase your prices, you can put more resources into helping those people, you can help more people, and that's how you can fit the mission. I'm not saying that this is your case. I'm just sharing this because that's a pattern that we see
Hmm.
often. So that said, how do you go from awareness, people getting into your referral zone, to into the call and SOW, letter of engagement, we work and roll? How does sales motion look like in the world of Dominique?
Um, I will say that, the beauty of referrals is that it's very warm sales. It's
Mhm.
almost hot sales,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
It's the opposite of
100%.
cold, right?
Mhm.
Um, and as you can tell, I am a very direct person,
Mhm.
and I tell people who I am, how I work, and they're either going to resonate with the fact that I'm direct and I use humor, or they're not. And that's okay. Because that is actually, a big part of the work that I do across both disciplines is allowing people to learn that they are imperfect and special, and that that's one thing, and that you don't have to be liked by everyone. And so I start modeling that day one. So generally what I do this sort of typical first call is about 20, 30 minutes, right? And that's completely free of charge. I hear a little bit about what's going on for the person. I might ask some questions. I will book another one of those if need be, but eventually, if somebody is not sort of buying in within that to at least have an initial session, then, you know, I'm assuming that they're trying to, what's the expression, get the milk without buying the cow. But I do work a little bit differently. I don't always do set engagements. For people who have more ambivalence and really want to try something out, I tell them the following things. I say that, being someone who has worked as a clinical psychologist, psychologists do not say like, well, you have to work with me for 6 months or I'm not going to work with you at all, right? So I will give people the opportunity to work with me for an hour, and pay me for an hour, and for us to really see whether or not we're a good match. I think trust is such an important piece. That said, I do provide some really important, right out of the gate psychological knowledge about the process of any form of support, which is that honestly, initially, if you like the person, you're going to be happy and maybe feel a little better. And then as soon as that has died down, what people don't realize is that they actually feel worse for a little while. So it is normal. Part of the intelligent part about getting a 6-month contract with someone, right, is that you have the time to go through that roller coaster. If you're working hourly, right, they could just be like, oh, I didn't like that, I'm out. I preempt that by telling them that's going to happen. And I preempt them also by saying like, look, 99% of us hate difficult conversations. I'm forcing you to have to engage with me and have a hard conversation saying like, hey, guess what? Like, I'm not feeling good during these calls. I don't think they're effective. You're asking me questions that feel too hard or whatever it is, right? Right there, I am modeling that this is how you need to lead. So the point is, I don't always do engagements. In fact, I more frequently don't do forced engagements. Another thing that makes me a little bit weird.
Interesting. Why not?
Such a good question. So from a business perspective, it's stupid, right? You can figure out what your income's going to be a lot better if you have
Actually,
6-month contract, say,
yeah.
right? The thing is that I really think that one of the things that I've noticed about, well, I think there are a few different reasons. First of all, I truly do get under the hood a little bit more than the average coach. There are definitely coaches who go under the hood a lot. I'm not trying to say that they don't, but I prefer to create so much trust that it's actually not it would be weird. It is weirder that the person's not planning to meet me next week than it was if we plan to meet, right? That's the deep trust. And that deep trust actually is what builds the referral network. So in some weird way, they're actually a marketing perspective to that method. But I'm doing it like, the primary reason I'm doing it is to build that trust. But the secondary effect is actually a pretty great marketing strategy. Just a really bad financial
Awesome.
one.
One might think, but actually, I think it isn't. So that's another thing I would like to double down on here, this time on the very positive
Mm,
side of things. I think a
mm,
lot of, again, having worked with a lot of them, a lot of B2B coaches and consultants tend to try and be in the short-term wins when it comes to sales. Now,
mhm.
there are multiple things that we need to bear into mind, which is first one, only 3% of the global market is ready to buy. 97% of them aren't. So sometimes
Mhm.
a deal is just not going to close because this is not the right time for the person. It doesn't mean that they will never buy. It just
Yep.
means that that's not the right time.
Mhm.
And being able to identify that and play with it, like, okay, look, now is not the right time. No worries. Let me, nurture you with some case studies, with some examples, with some industry insights, with some tips that you can implement
Mm-hmm.
yourself right now and get some benefits from, so that we build that trust relationship over time. And the other thing is you're playing the long-term game, which is you're creating that goodwill in advance, meaning
Yep.
once they are ready, or if they see someone in their environment, ecosystem who is ready, like, hey, you should definitely talk to that person because I did, and that was great. I think she would be able to help. So long-term games are much more profitable to play if done the proper way. And I think that's what you're doing, and that's smart, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How do
Thank you.
you, so once you get, my pleasure. I mean, just saying what I genuinely think, but my pleasure. How do you go from that? So once you engage with that person, right? So once you start working with them, a big part of B2B coaching is going to be providing this value over time, keeping our clients engaged, and making sure that one initial engagement transform into a long-term relationship because you keep on bringing that value, but you're also able to keep the money flowing from that relationship as well. It's like win-win. So how do
Right.
you, once you engage with someone, make sure that you retain that business, potentially expand within that organization, and make the most out of this relationship for you?
That's a very good question. I think that there's two different types. So I think of organizations, I'm saying this as if I'm like the first person who could figure this one out, but they're systems, right? Organizations are systems. And because I have this background in psychology, organizational psychology, and family systems, I think of them a lot like that. And especially in the startup world, by the way, where and I'm sorry, I know that not everybody who you are engaging with out in the world works in tech startups, but one of the reasons I specifically think of them as family so much is they start very small and they grow very quickly, right? And the needs of the organization change very quickly, right? So one of the ways is I am a step ahead. I'm maintaining their um, interest because I am, having done this for so long, able to pattern recognize and tell them what's 2, 3, 20 steps ahead of them. Right. So I'm getting buy-in there because they literally, I will sometimes have people think that I have some sort of crystal ball. I'm like, I don't have a crystal ball. I just pay attention and I pattern recognize. Right. So that's one piece. The other piece with the systems part is I do co-founder coaching, I do co-founder mediation, I do mediation between a leader and an employee, right? Sometimes I will do team work because all of that is so important for the end game. I also do different forms of 360s and employee surveys. So I do bespoke employee surveys. So instead of there are a lot of really good services out there, but I am a trained scientist. I can create a survey and do the stats and analyze the stats and come up with both the analysis was also recommendations from that, right? So I have ways to double and triple down in many different ways, whether it's, well, actually, we really need to look at this relationship within your organization, or whoa, we really need to look at the way that this other person's leading, or the health of your organization needs more work. We better do an employee survey, and then from there, see what else is needed. There's all these ways to expand the relationship above and beyond the initial conversation. And also, I mean, the simple fact is that most people don't know what the problem is. They think they know what the problem is. And occasionally they're right. But even if they're right, they only know part of it because they're in their own little bubble. It's not because they're stupid or anything, right? They're just in the bubble. It's very hard to look fully transparently when you're inside. Does that answer your question? I feel like I gave you more than you
Oh,
asked
it
for.
does. So that's the whole point of the show. So I like this. So
Mhm.
it's, and I think your answer showcases what your business is really about. It's to going a bit deeper than just like, hey, how do I maximize revenue from this account? It's like in their specific context, co-founders, how do I make sure that my coaching is not only impacting that one person, but the overall business, and
Mhm.
to make sure that everybody thrives out of this. And I like that this is so much focused on value delivered rather than, hey, when do we sign the next letter of engagement? Much more about, hey, here's how I've helped, here's how I think I can help best, and here is how we can get there together. I like it.
Mhm.
You so Dominique, you're getting more business that you can handle. You're extremely busy.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think you have nailed the model. Where would you say you're stuck right now or challenged? The reason I'm asking this is we will have some people listening to us right now and when this episode goes live who might feel stuck at the same point. I think it's always interesting to hear from your peers. Um, how they think about solving a specific problem that they are facing themselves. So for you, what would that be in your business and how are you thinking about solving it?
Um, it's a very good question. I would say one of my biggest issues stems from, honestly, in some ways, self-worth. Here we're going to get vulnerable. One is self-worth, and one is I'm sometimes like a little bit of a socialist, even though I'm a capitalist. And so I will say all of this together. Um, so to the point that you said around, like, if you're busier than you have time to be, then you're not charging enough. That is absolutely true. My issue is that I have to feel confident enough to charge more money. And it's not even just confidence, it's like, do I believe that I should be paid that much money? And this is, I mean, this is a struggle I've had my whole life, right? As soon as I became a employee, there are times where I'm like, yeah, of course I deserve more. Did you hear that nugget I just dropped? That was worth $1 million right there, right? But it is, especially before you have helped someone, when you are pricing yourself out, saying, being like, no, I truly believe that I'm going to give you this kind of value and more. Right. And sure enough, after the fact, I'm often like, why didn't I why didn't I charge a lot more? So this to me is actually like one of my hardest lessons. And one of the places that I'm stuck the most is that I have this issue with that. I'm getting better at it all the time, but that's hard. And I also have a little bit of FOMO. And what I mean by that is, like, there are people who, especially in these rapid changing startup world, who maybe cannot pay top dollar right now, but who are, a month out from a raise where they could actually pay me full fee or more. And sometimes I get so caught up in the person or their mission that I can succumb to being a bit of a bleeding heart and start coaching somebody at a lower fee. And then maybe they don't get that huge raise. And so, then my hour a week or however often I see them is stuck at a lower fee. So for me, charging as much as I can, being willing to charge as much as I can, and getting rid of those other people who I care about, but maybe aren't paying me the same fees, are probably those are like my biggest stuck places right now.
I like it. Thanks for being vulnerable, Dominic. That's good. Um, what's the next big thing for you? What are you looking forward to implement in the next 3 to 6 months that you think will push your business forward? What's the next thing you're looking
Great
forward to?
question. I'm about to start a few, or, hopefully, no, positive thinking, manifestation. I'm about to start
Yes.
one or more small cohorts, and they're going to be like 4 to 6 people. I'm starting with the women's leaders and CEOs and founders. Then I'll probably do a men's. And then I'll probably do a co-ed one. But one at a time. And the reason why I chose to do this was twofold. From a business perspective, small groups can actually be incredibly economically lucrative, while also providing coaching to people who either wouldn't pay the full fee in the one-to-one option, or for whatever reason don't have that kind of financial ability. So especially for someone like me who really uses referrals, that means for that hour, I'm getting in the good graces of 4 to 6 people instead of just one, right? So it increases referrals, but also literally for that hour, I'll make more money. So that is my next hurrah.
Dominique, ladies and gentlemen, Dominique, if people want to find out more about you and what you do, where should they go?
samuelscoaching.com or LinkedIn, whichever.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
What I can say for sure, so we'll put all the links in the description. And what I can say for sure is that you got at least one connection out of this interview. Me, I just invited you on LinkedIn.
Oh,
Dominique,
thank you.
thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.